So guys, let's talk about an amazing vehicle that got leaked today. Of course, we already talked about the whole leak and all the vehicles that got leaked coming from the same good old reliable sources that we always trust. But today, in this video specifically, I wanted to talk about what should you expect from the B-66B, the Destroyer, which has probably one of the coolest names ever for a bomber. I gotta say, Destroyer, the Douglas Destroyer, right? And it is basically an all-weather tactical bomber made by the US during the Cold War. There were even some other versions out of it that were doing electronic warfare, and the idea here was basically an adaptation of the A3 Skywarrior Navy bomber, right? So let's talk a little bit about it. It is an amazing aircraft, maybe not for everybody's cup of tea, but I gotta be honest, I love this type of thing because it has some very interesting systems. Of course, in the game it will be very simplified, but still some very cool things. So first of all, the general performance of the vehicle. It is a tactical bomber, so the idea is very similar to something like an IL-28, right? It has a true crew system, right? So it has the pilot, the navigation, bombardier kind of officer, and then the gunner electronic system officer, okay? It has two engines. The Allison J71 is the engine, around 45 kilonewtons of thrust each, so it produces a lot of thrust, man. This is a very strong engine for the time, and to be honest, for the vehicle that it is, this is producing a lot of thrust, especially that it's not a non-afterburning engine. It has a max speed, although because of the aerodynamics of the vehicle, of around 1,000 kilometers per hour. And a max speed that it's around 0.87. So it's not the fastest thing ever. It's a very early Cold War vehicle, of course. The cruising speed would be around 885 kilometers per hour. So it is very limited on that regard. It has around 40 meters per second of a climb. This is what the internet tells us. Let's see how it is going to be used. So yeah, very, very cool vehicle. It has a ton of performance, actually, but it doesn't have the aerodynamics to be a supersonic vehicle, okay? It does have the thrust for it, but it doesn't have the actual, aerodynamic purpose for it, okay? Then for the sensors, and this is what it actually is pretty interesting. So, bombing and navigation radar, which is used primarily as a bombing aid. So, how does it work? Well, it has pretty much a radar that will be able to locate where the ground is with the officer using it, right? And with that, it can calculate a release point. So it's a very rudimentary, but very good for the time CCRP. So basically, you will be able to do CCRP, okay? It has also Doppler navigation. Of course, this is obviously not usable in the game, but it is a very early stage of just trying to have a navigation system that it's internal to the vehicle and it doesn't need anything else, right? It has a radar altimeter, which is pretty good as well. And yeah, it has a... So, we already know the sensors, the general performance of the vehicle, but what about the weapons? So, it has an internal bomb bay capacity of around 6.8 tons of bombs. That's metric, okay? So normally it would use general purpose bombs, but it can also use the Mark 7, Mark 28, and Mark 43, for example, nuclear bombs. So it is a nuclear capable bomber, of course, right? So in a general sense, I mean, it would carry Mark 80 series of bombs and even some earlier ones, if I'm not mistaken. So very normal thing, okay? This is obviously going to be the main focus of the vehicle, carrying bombs, okay? The defensive armament is actually pretty amazing. It's a twin 20mm M24 gun. So it is a pretty good gun for the time. It was one of the best ones that they had. It is the same that is used on the F-86K. So it's a pretty good gun, very fast firing. Doesn't have a lot of ammunition. It has around 600 rounds. But it is remote controlled with radar direction, okay? So yeah, a very, very good bomber. To be honest, I think it will be added probably in between the B-57s and the F-105s. I have a feeling that it's a little bit better than the B-57s, but not by much, you know. Maybe a little bit faster, a little bit better climbing in a general sense, and more payload, basically, right? But in a general sense, it will be just a tiny little bit more. So maybe it's around 8.3 or 8.7. maybe a little bit more. Let's see how it goes, but I don't see it being 9.0 to be honest, right? And it will probably be a rank 6 vehicle, okay? And yeah, a very, very cool bomber that I honestly didn't know much about it, but it is a very cool vehicle to have. Hopefully Gaijin continues to actually add these types of vehicles. They are very interesting, they are very different. Of course, at the end of the day, it is just a bomber, but it is a very cool one from an era that small things like a bombing and navigation radar would make a lot of difference for the vehicle, okay? So, yeah, very, very cool. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think about the B-66 Destroyer, which, yeah, very cool name. And, yeah, see you guys. Bye.